Hi everyone, it's Karen. I'm back and my cookie marathon continues. I know I don't know if anyone's going to be on because it is early in the morning here, but I want to get things done. Then I can rest and enjoy Christmas Eve. So on that note, I'm now making, halupkis are done. I'm now making Slovak mushroom soup. Slovak mushroom sauerkraut soup. This is the first course of what would be our traditional Christmas Eve dinner. And this is our version of it. As I talk to other people of Slovak heritage, there are different variations of it depending on where you were, where your family came from in Slovakia. And traditionally, the Slovak Christmas Eve dinner is supposed to be a fast, so it's meatless or seafood. And in the traditional way to do this is what you would get fresh mushrooms. You pick them. Knowing what your mushrooms are is very important because not all wild mushrooms are good to eat. Some of them are even poisonous. Hey Joe, how are you? I'm making soup this early in the morning. So, and you can chime in with any version that you have if you want to stay awake with me. So this is what was passed down from my Baba grandmother to my mom, and we kind of adapted it a little bit differently. I know some people put beans in, and if it's not a fast, if you're making it not for Christmas Eve and you're not fasting, I've heard that people put kielbasa or a smoked sausage, bacon bits, and all that other good stuff. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to accelerate the process a little bit here, and for video purposes. So I've already I put a little bit of onion in, and I kind of sauteed them down just a little bit. Here's one of my adaptations. It takes the rawness out of the, plus also, this is just for me and my mother, and she has some, she can eat like softer foods, so this softens it as well. I already have the water in my kettle, just so I can pour it out, measure it, about 4 cups, and I'll go through the ingredients. I used about a 12 ounce of fresh mushrooms because that's what I have. If you have the dried mushrooms, what you would do is you would overnight hydrate them, and then to bring them, plump them back up, and then you would use, so it concentrates the flavor. So I use these. So I will be simmering this for a while. And I just cut them up and I chop them up. And I like a lot of mushrooms. So my mom came in earlier and said, holy man, how many mushrooms? I says, well, they will shrink down. So it's mushroom soup. So I want mushrooms. And this is my adaptation. And, you may have your own version, or you may take from this and add to it or omit. Now, here's the thing that I don't know if anybody else or how many people do. Joe, let me know what you do, but we put carrot in. It's what I know. And I kind of like it because carrot in any soups or any food will give some sweetness. So I'm going to do the hard vegetable plus the mushrooms. It's not a hard vegetable, but I want to get as much of the mushroom flavor because it's mushroom soup. So I will be putting the mushrooms and the hard vegetables, and we also put potato in it. But I am soaking with a little bit of lemon water so they don't turn. I already cubed and diced them to about this size. Where's that? Okay. So we put a little bit of potato in, and then also what makes it very different from most mushroom soups that you probably know, sauerkraut juice and a little bit of sauerkraut. So those are the ingredients. I think I got everything. Oh, carrot. Oh, I want to show you. I only put about this size of yellow onion. And here's the funny thing I wanted to show you. I did about 2 small carrots, a little bit smaller than this. But, you know, that's what the recipes, or people just say, oh, you just use 1 carrot. Now, if I would have used just this, it would have been the equivalent of 2 small ones. So if the recipe calls for 2 carrots, would you use 2 like this? So you got to use your judgment. If you don't like carrot, leave it out. But this is kind of just, you know, adjust to your taste. The other thing that we put in, one more thing, is I forget the name. Popsum is a pasta. It's a little, these are just the stars. I mean, a small little pasta. And I picked the stars out. My mom used to use them. I have about a quarter to a half cup, depending on how big of a batch you're making. I thought the star, Bethlehem star, says Christmas. The other thing you will need, and we'll make after I get the stuff in the pot going. Hey, Michelle, you're always up when I'm up. So are you cooking? Because I know you cook a lot. So we will make what's called zapraszka, which is a Slovak roux. Equal parts fat, which I'm using butter, unsalted butter, and flour. So we'll do that after I get the stuff into the pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my mushrooms into the pot. All right. And they fill it up about halfway. Put my water in. Start it. And I'm just going to let it start. Now, we watch a lot of cooking shows here at the house. My mother has Food Network on 24/7, it seems. So one thing I did learn is every time you add an ingredient, you're supposed to salt it if you're doing savory. So I'm doing that because that's what I was told on the Food Network. So I'm just going to put this in and let this start. And I'm going to also put in my carrots. Harder vegetables. Once again, I want to give them the longer time. Oh, you're just watching me. Thank you. Are you all done for Christmas, Michelle? Please say no, because I'm still as you can tell, I'm still working on stuff. I'm going to put, because it's a harder vegetable, and because my mother needs to have everything very a little softer, hard vegetables take some longer time. So I'm going to want these mushrooms to cook down, and these to get softened. I'll put the potatoes in later because they'll take quicker too. It's just a rule of thumb with soups, you know, harder vegetables first, potatoes, because they'll soak up a lot of sodium and they'll soak up a lot of the flavor. They will go later. So I'm going to put my carrots and, let me see. Okay, now it's on. And let that get going. Okay. So I'll let that go, and I will put my onions in just for the sweetness. And even if they melt down, I don't care. That's fine. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one, Michelle. You still have things to do. My tree is not up yet. That's the next thing. When I get this done, the soup on, I'm going to go put the tree up and then maybe decorate it later this morning. We're going to midnight mass. I'm going to midnight mass, so I have time. That's all. My mom and I will have dinner. It's very, I'm going visiting on Christmas Day. So I'm just going to let this start up, and I want those mushrooms to really go down. So, and I want the soup to really get the mushroom flavor. All right, so what I will do is, let me get this out of the way. These are for later. The stars are for later. And, cleaning mushrooms. I don't know if you know, I'm sure 2 of you know how to do this. And we have Sue on here now. Oh, my cousin Anna from Kluknava from Slovakia. Uh-oh, I've got an expert. Anna, have you ready for Vilia? I'm making the Slovak mushroom soup, or at least our version. So please tell us what you guys eat for the Slovak mushroom soup, or what soup do you have for Christmas Eve? But mushrooms, you don't want to wash them. You take a clean napkin and you just wipe the dirt off, and that's it. You know, some of them come pretty clean anymore. But when I use this one, they look pretty good. Just get some of the big grit off, and that's that. And then chop them up. I'll put this out of the way. So I'm gonna let this keep kind of getting these down. And what I'm going to make next is what we call zapraszka, and it's just Slovak word for roux. Equal parts fat to equal parts flour. And I'm gonna, once that comes out, I may have to come back on later, part 2. But I'll show you the zapraszka. We'll see where the soup is, and because I may let it simmer for a while, go do my other stuff and come back later. But the zapraszka is the thickener for this soup. This soup is it's not a clear broth mushroom soup, and it's not highly creamy. Now, there's some recipes that I've seen online because I was researching like the variations of it. Some people put sour cream in it as a thickener as well, and in addition to the zapraszka. It's all a matter of taste and what you and your family or whoever you're having the soup with, or what you prefer. And you want to doctor it up that way, go right ahead. That's the beauty of cooking. So I've got 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I love these little half sticks. So let me get this back on. Okay. So I'm going to start my zapraszka, which is Slovak for roux. If you watch enough cooking shows, you've probably seen this done. And I don't know how much I'll use in this because I'm not making a real large batch. Let's see, anybody else say anything? I'm trying to watch the comments and see who's on. I'm not making a whole large batch. That's just me and my mom. But I do like this soup. I hear her. She was sleeping. I hope she's not up now. She's a night owl, like me. Anyway. So we're melting the butter. Let me see. I'm going to get this closer. I have it on low. I'm putting it on low now. Let me get this out of the way. Let me move the sauerkraut for a moment. Let's get closer. I need to get a studio camera. I'm going to keep doing this. But I'm melting down my butter. And the thing with zapraszka, you can say I'm not going to use all this because I'll show you how I'm going to incorporate it into the soup. Like I said, I may have to do a part 2 because I want to get these mushrooms to kind of go down. So I want it on low because I don't want it to burn. We don't want brown butter. We just want to melt it at first. And then, so I measured out earlier 4 tablespoons of flour, had 4 tablespoons of butter, and she is up. My mother, 93, 2:45 in the morning. She's up walking around. It's like having a little kid. So, okay. So here we go. I got my butter melted, and I'm going to start slowly incorporating and mixing my butter and flour. And I want to keep mixing it to like a paste. Now here's the thing. You can determine how dark you want your soup to how dark you want your butter gets. And what you'll do is, it's a little thin yet. Some people I've seen on the cooking shows, they make a thinner roux. You don't want it to be like toothpaste because that's too thick. But it's, you know, when you put your spatula, I use a spatula because I have the one tool I keep using. It is a divide. But I'm going to keep incorporating the flour a little bit at a time, because if you put all at once, you're going to it's starting to get pasty. But you want it to be blended. Now, if you want a lighter soup, you can use this to cream vegetables. You can add, you know, water or milk to it, and like creamed green beans, cream peas. It's a staple. I know in Slovak cooking, a lot of soups start with this. And then I may not get it all. It has to do with a lot with, I may have been a little bit heavy-handed in some of the measuring because I was trying to prep quickly. I'll get the rest of it in. That's why you want to do it a little bit at a time. Get this out of the way. Okay, so what you could do is, I'm waiting for the soup to go. I can put this aside and take it off the heat, but I might get it to where I want it a little bit browner, because it will go lighter, a little bit lighter when you go to the soup. And what you will do is you'll temper it once I get my soup. Once this cooks down a little bit more. And then what I'll do is I'll take some of the broth from the soup and mix it into here to temper it a little bit, because I might take this off the heat just while I'm waiting for the soup. But I'm going to make it a little bit browner. And actually, you can put this in a little plastic, you know, tupper or container and keep it in your fridge. So if you have more than what you need, because it will really thicken. You know, I probably will not use all of this for this size. Let me show you. For that size pot. But I'll have it, and maybe I'll use it to make a gravy. My mother, because of her swallowing issues, she eats a lot. She would put gravy on a lot of things, or sauces. So I'll, you know, if I don't use all this, I'll use it for her later. So I'm good. And, you know, it could go brown real quick if you, depending on your stove and the, you know, if you have gas versus electric, and if it gets hot real quick and what kind of pan you have. But that's basically roux and zapraszka. So these are starting to shrink down a little bit. I may have to go up one size of pot, because I was making haluki earlier and I have my bigger pot for that, but this is the next size I have here. I'm in Johnstown with my mother. She's 93 and still lives at home, and we're having Christmas Eve together. So I have what she has here. This is where I grew up. So, and I know, Sue, you grew up here. So, Anna, you still on? How am I doing? It's my cousin from Slovakia. She's watching me. Oh my goodness. So it's probably 6 hours, or yeah, it's probably 8:49 a.m. there. So it's already they're going to be into the Christmas Eve festivities sometime soon today, sooner than us. Okay, so I may let that get a little bit darker. But so what is everybody else? Michelle, what are you making? Are you still there? Or what are you working on? Wrapping gifts? So Yeah, it's nice and blended. So you don't want to burn it. You just want it to go slowly to a different tone. I might take it up to 2 here. I'm working on a gas stove with a Teflon pan. If you didn't catch it earlier, I did stuffed cabbage, halupki. Just trying to get everything done tonight. Well, it's not this morning now. So let's see. Anybody else on here? Okay. So I'm probably going to let this go a couple more minutes and then take it off the heat. Then I'll heat it back up when, so I'm going to see if I can show you the soup pot. So it was up to the top when I put all the mushrooms and everything in, and it's starting to go down. I'll let it go down a little bit more before I put the sauerkraut. The next step would be to put the sauerkraut. I'm gonna put the sauerkraut juice in and then wait to put the sauerkraut in. Because I want it's making some room now. Oh, we're sizzling here. I need to take this off the heat. Let me switch pots here so you can see. It's starting to sizzle. You don't want it to get past that. So I'm going to put this over here off the heat. I just had this here to hold something. I'll put that there. Let me hold this closer. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the juice from the sauerkraut. And if you caught my earlier, my mom always used this silver floss sauerkraut. I found it both in a can. I think there's another one, silver floss, in a can, and in this bag was in the freezer department. This was more economical if you're frugal. A Slovak like me, if you're frugal and you want to, on a budget, why not? Let me see what else. Christmas cards. Mine are, I did photo cards, which are just like a postcard this year. So they're made, they're sitting in a box. So I'm with you on that one, Michelle. So what I'm going to do now is so that we can get some of the, what makes it, what I like, and it reminds me of like sweet and sour soup, but Slovak version is the tartness from the sauerkraut juice, and we do put a little bit of sauerkraut in. But right now, I'm just going to, what I like about this, using the bag, I can make like a little cut and just try to drain the juice in. And this is to taste. So I might put some in, mix it around. But there's not like when you have here's the thing is when you have a can, you have a lot more juice, I think. So we'll just put I'm just going to put it all in. Because I do like it tart. See, there's not a whole lot. And that if you're leery of it, look at this. On now. If you're leery and you're not sure how to just put some in, save some, and put some more in later. Okay, let me get a spoon so we can kind of give a taste test. Now, like the whole thing about putting salt in every time you add an ingredient, I just put sauerkraut. It's salty enough, so I'm not going to add additional salt. Not bad. Now I'm going to put some sauerkraut in as well, and once it comes through a little bit and cooks more, then it'll get more flavors. I'm going to see some more. Get all that juice out. There's not a whole lot. And then I'm going to see if I get some sauerkraut out. I got about maybe a cup. And if you want to put more in later, you can put more in later. So I'm going to put this on medium. I may take a break. I may have to go back and get my other big pot cleaned. So my Zapreshka, as you can see, it's gotten thick, and that's okay because we're going to dilute it down. We're going to temper it before we put it in here. You want it, what you'll do is you want to get some liquid from here and temper it and thin it down and then put it into here because otherwise you don't get lumps. But I think I'm going to just let this go for a while. The only thing I have to put in is the potatoes. Let me so I can see you guys. The only thing I have to put in, I'm going to let this go down. I mean, my mushrooms have gone down a little bit, but not enough yet. I want to get that flavor concentrated. I may put some more sauerkraut in. I'll taste it in a little bit. Then I'll put the potatoes in the last, however long it takes for potatoes, depending on how big of a dice you have. The last maybe 15 minutes, because then you'll be reheating the soup too if you have leftovers, and then we will have leftovers. I mean, if you're having for a whole big family, you won't, but you don't want the potatoes to break down, because the starch from them will make the soup thicker as well. If you like that, then go ahead. So I may throw a little salt in, and I use sea salt. That's what I've been used to doing. And so the other thing to put in is the alphabets, or not the alphabets, but the stars pasta. I mean, that's what we put in. I had measured a half a cup out, but I think because I have a very full pot, I'll probably do a quarter cup. I'm probably going to switch it out to the other pot after I clean it because I only have this one and the other one, and then on the one I just had the halupki in. So, let me see. I've been on almost half an hour. So, recap. I have my Slovak sauerkraut soup. I've heard different names for this. Kapusnica. And Anna, if you're still here, what do we call it in Kluknava? The other one was Lenchanka. So maybe it's depending on what region or Slovakia you're from. And this is our adaptation of it. I don't know if this was my grandmother made it. She added the potatoes. It could be a thing where they're trying to stretch the food because they have a large family. And that's, I mean, a lot of the, it could be a regional thing. So I'm curious for my family and where my family came from is how do you make it there? So, yeah, this is pretty full. So, so far I caramelized the onions because I wanted them soft. Not really caramelized, they were almost to that stage to bring the sweetness out. I had 12 ounces of white mushrooms, 4 cups of water, 2 smaller carrots, a onion about that size, a potato a little bit larger than this one, and it's sitting there in lemon juice water just to keep them from turning so they'll be ready. And then, so the last 2 things to put in once this goes kind of steeps a little bit more or simmers a little bit more is probably a quarter cup of, these are stars. We've used any kind of small little pasta noodle. And I'll taste it later. Let me see. If I want to put more, I think I probably got all the juice out of here. If I want to put more sauerkraut in, it'll be to taste. And that's pretty much the Slovak sauerkraut soup. So, and then I will, at the very end, I will take some broth from this, put it into here, and then put it back in to thicken the soup. But I'm going to let this simmer a little bit longer. I might come back on as a part 2 in a larger pot because this is going to overflow. And this is it's either the big stock pot or this one. I'm at my mother's house, so it's what she has. So I'm going to say, join me in a little bit or catch the replay. Once again, with any of my videos, share them. Anyone who shares the videos after I'm doing 12 days of Christmas Live, Facebook Lives. This is my day 7. I'm probably going to do, if you want to know, let me know if you want to see more cooking videos. It's my artist page, but I'll do anything creative, from my artwork to my photography to art tutorials. You don't want it to boil. It's starting to boil, so I'm going to lower it a little bit. You want it to simmer. And I'm going to keep stirring. Okay. And the mushrooms are starting to go down. So they shrunk probably at a third. So anyone who shares my videos after the 12 days or after the holiday, probably the New Year, I will send you something, a thank you, a little gift in your inbox. And it could be a coupon. It could be from my Etsy shop or from one of my events, or just I'm going to start online online art classes or at-home art kits, which then will be supported with online tutorials. So if that interests you, or you know someone interests somebody, let them know. Follow my page, Mesaros. And because I'm live here on my home page and my personal page, but I'm going to push this over to my Mesaros page. If you're on Facebook, it's the @ Mesaros Creative, and that's it. I'll be back for part 2, probably over at Mesaros, so catch me there. I'm going to let this simmer, and we'll come back and see what happens. All right, have a good morning.